Good morning, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in as we continue our series, American Idols, looking at some of the various gods that we tend to devote ourselves to, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And this morning we look at love. According to people in the entertainment industry who are considered to be experts in this sort of thing, here are the all-time best romantic movie lines. See if you recognize these. You should be kissed and often, and by someone who knows how. Remember that line? That's Rhett Butler or Clark Gable from Gone with the Wind. We always have Paris. You might remember that was Rick or Humphrey Bogart from Casablanca. When you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. That was Billy Crystal, or Harry, in the movie When Harry Met Sally. Love means never having to say you're sorry. Remember that one? The movie Love Story? And the number one all-time greatest romantic line from any movie is "You complete me." Tom Cruise, Jerry Maguire. These lines are iconic because they cater to a person's romantic side. For years, Hollywood has captured the hearts of viewers, predominantly women, by peddling romantic love. We esteem romantic love as a virtue in our culture. It is seen as one of the greatest and noblest pursuits. And it's not just Hollywood that promotes this type of love. The radio is saturated with it. I want your love. I need your love. I can't live without your love. Burt Bacharach claimed that what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Robert Palmer saying, might as well face it, you're addicted to love. And it was the Beatles who told the world that all you need is love. Meatloaf assured us that he would do anything for love, but I won't do that, he said. Makes you wonder what that was. Was it not doing the dishes or not putting the toilet seat down? Who knows? But the message is clear. Romantic love is what it's all about. It's why romance novels and soap operas and shows like The Bachelor are so appealing to such a wide audience of women. It's why people hop from one relationship to another because they're chasing the high that comes with romantic love. Our culture has equated love with a bubbly, tingly feeling that we call falling in love. Love is more of a feeling or an emotion. It's like an irresistible force that we have no control over. Romantic love is so powerful that it can cause a man to leave his wife after 25 years of marriage for another woman because, hey, I couldn't help it. Love got in the way. Falling in love has become such a priority in our society that those without a mate are left with the impression that they are somehow incomplete, that they're broken and they need fixing. If you're not with someone, then there must be something wrong with you. If you don't have a prince, then you can't be a princess and thus you can't live happily ever after. We're taught to believe that everybody has a soulmate, which is really silly when you think about it because statistically, there are more women on this planet than men, so that destroys the idea that there is only one person out there for you. Plus, all it would take is one person making the wrong choice to ruin it for everyone else. Romantic love has reached God's status in our culture. We'll sacrifice just about anything for just a taste of it. I've seen people give up their families for the allure of romantic love. I've witnessed men and women give up their faith and leave the church because of a fierce commitment to romantic love. I've seen men and women compromise their morals for it. We look to romantic love for satisfaction. It is viewed as the missing piece of the puzzle in order to make life complete. Rodgers and Hammerstein once wrote a song entitled Falling in Love with Love, and that's exactly what many in our culture have done. So many are devoted to the fairy tale romance or the movie screen version of happily ever after. It's not that romance is wrong. Quite the contrary. Romantic love was never intended by God to be a bad thing. You can read Song of Solomon sometime and see that. However, God never intended romantic love to compete with Him. But that's exactly what has happened in our culture. Many have pursued this false God as a means of fulfillment. And I don't need to tell you that when this happens, the ending is never happily ever after. See if these words sound familiar to you. Love is impatient. Love is cruel and is extremely jealous. Love is proud and often causes one to act unbecomingly. It seeks its own. It can be provoked. It keeps score. It rejoices in unrighteous deeds like fornication and adultery. It's not necessarily concerned with the truth. Love bears some things, so as long as it profits self in the long run. Love believes in a fleeting feeling. Love hopes that that feeling will last, and love endures until it gets sick of the other person. That would be a worldly translation of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. And it is, I believe, completely accurate. You see, the world doesn't have the foggiest idea of what real love, authentic love is. By the world's definition, as I said, love is a feeling. It's based on sentimentality. It's butterflies in your stomach. But you can't build a relationship or a life with someone based on a feeling, right? For many, love is a force. It's a magical power that supposedly infiltrates our heart and renders us powerless to its will. It's kind of like a virus. You just catch it, it's irresistible. Love is often seen as contractual in our culture. It's often a response to how we are treated. We look at a relationship with an eye to what we can get out of our investment. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You give me what I want, I'll give you what you want. Love is often selfish in our culture. Above all, the worldly definition of love is inherently self-centered. Love isn't about how you feel. Love isn't about what another person can do for you. Love really isn't all about you. And if you approach love in that way, you will never experience real love. In a culture of individualism, people exist to serve me. I am the most important. I am the focal point. My needs take top priority. Our world teaches us to be self-centered. You turn on the television, you notice the commercials. How many products are marketed with an individualistic mindset? Advertisers attempt to convince you, the consumer, that you not only need their product, but you deserve it. You're entitled to it. Listen to the taglines. Be the first to own it. Don't you deserve the best? Because you're worth it. Many people operate under the assumption that life is a documentary about them. I mean, why do we cut people off in traffic? Why do we badmouth the guy in front of us going 45 miles per hour when the speed limit is clearly posted 55? Why do we roll our eyes in disgust when we have to pull off the side of the road and wait for the funeral procession to pass by? We're in a hurry, right? Why do we rant and rave when we have to take an alternate route to work because there's been an accident? We react this way because at some level, we believe that our time is more valuable, that our life is most important. Many times we don't even realize we're doing it. We get so wrapped up in our own little domain that we forget that there is a whole host of other people out there who are more than just extras in a real life drama about ourselves. Add to all of this the fact that we are so indoctrinated with a free market mentality. Our economic system is based on the free market system where prices and wages are determined by competition between businesses. But it's not just in the economic world that we find the free market system in action. A free market mentality is often the prevailing attitude among people. In a free market society, everything has a price, and our value system is reflected in what we're willing to pay. And man, is it a warped system at times. You know, professional athletes make gazillions of dollars, and what do they really contribute to society? Yet police officers, firemen, teachers, etc., they make pennies in comparison. In a culture dominated by a free market mentality, everything has a price, including people. We attach a numeric value to everything, even people. We tend to evaluate a person's worth based on their income or their possessions, and this mentality is often reflected in the clothes that we wear, the cars that we drive, the houses that we live in. To ensure that we have value, we acquire the nicest and the best. And because we're always in competition with one another, people exist to give me what I want. Those who can serve me well are the people of most value. Those who cannot are of no use to me. In a self-centered society that garners a free market mentality, people become objects, and thus relationships become disposable. I may enter into a marriage with someone, but if they don't give me what I want, if they don't meet my needs, well, then I move on to someone else, even if I have been married to that person for many years. Devotion to the meeting of my needs is most important because self must prevail. The God of love is closely aligned with the God of self. The two often share the throne of a man's heart. But authentic love and selfishness are polar opposites. Paul tells us what real love is. Look at it with me. Love is patient, love is kind, and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant, does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own, is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. In their attempt to define real love, what is the one adjective that is often applied? What is the one descriptor that always gets placed in front of the word love so as to set it apart from any other? Unconditional, right? You've heard that term, unconditional love. I despise that term. I cannot stand the phrase unconditional love because it gives the impression that there's another kind of love that is conditional, and it's just not so. I mean, if love is conditional, then it isn't love. Real love can only be unconditional. If someone only loves you when you please them, then they don't really love you. If someone only loves you when you do what they want, then they don't really love you. If someone loves you until you mess up, then they don't really love you. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours is not love. Real love is not a response to how we are treated. Authentic love is not conditional and it's not contractual. You only find out if someone really loves you when it costs them something. You know when someone genuinely loves you, when a sacrifice is involved, because unlike the counterfeit love that's so prevalent in our society today, authentic love removes self from the equation and places the needs of others above their own. There is another chapter in the Bible that we could easily dub the love chapter. It's not just 1 Corinthians 13. It's also Romans chapter 5, and it reads in part like this. For while we were still helpless, at the right time Christ died for the ungodly. For one will hardly die for a righteous man, though perhaps for the good man someone would dare even to die. But God demonstrates his own love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Much more than, having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath of God through him. For if while we were enemies, we were reconciled to God through the death of his Son, much more, having been reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. And not only this, but we also exult in God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have now received the reconciliation. You want to know what love is? That is love. You want a description of love that is untainted by the world? Then look to the one who died, so that the world may know what true love is. You want to know what love is? Don't go to a dictionary. Don't survey the world. Go to the cross. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great day.